ready to crank up the volume because you're about to enter the realm of rebels and rock stars. Unleashing the thunder from down under the stage. We're diving deep with a deviance of melody, rhythm, and chaos. Now push up your sleeves and get ready to dive into the pit. It's time for Sitting with the Slimy Bastards, Music Edition.
Another episode of Sitting with the Slimy Bastards here this afternoon in Northern Iowa, and I've been pleased to have on the program again, and been looking forward to this for a little bit. But first and foremost, I want to give a quick shout out to some guys that helped me along the way, and that's helped me get this program up and going. And of course, old Chris Cox does some editing for me, and of course, Nick, who does also some editing for me and helps me get video clips done and everything. So hats off to you guys. I appreciate you, and I can't thank you enough. And of course, Tom's fishing and guiding service, and Gary. So with today, I have the one and only Todd and Tess Strange all the way down. And what are you guys in northern Texas or Oklahoma?
Northeast Texas. Northeast Texas.
So, and the founding member of Crowbar, and now of course the sun don't shine. And Tess, you've done some music stuff. You're Todd's wife and that, and I met you guys down in New Orleans at the video shoot for Sun, when you guys recorded the video for the Promise song and Sun Don't Shine. And but welcome to the show.
Thank you. Good to be here.
And when we were down there in New Orleans, just to kind of set the stage of this, of the day that we recorded my podcast, and I'm not gonna lie, I was nervous as hell because I've never done anything like that in person, you know what I mean, with that large of caliber. And I told Andrew on the phone, I was like, Christ, these guys are used to like MTV shit, and I'm not geared up for any of that. And I was walking, pacing, and luckily for my friend up here, who's a dear friend of mine, and we followed your guys' career for quite some time. My buddy Slutenhofer, he called me nonstop, wanting to know what was going on. But with Gary and that being there, and then I met you, Tess, and you guys were great. It was fun. The atmosphere was just incredible. But with that being said, the video turned out awesome.
Yeah, it did. Of course, we didn't see it till like the 11th hour. It was getting ready to I was like, Andrew, man, did you get the video? He's like, I talked to Mike, some pipes broke in the Blue Nile. That was the place where we shot the video. And he manages it. So he's like, yeah, he's been dealing with that because they had like the 100 years snow down there.
Yeah. They've had more snow down there than what we've had up here in northern Iowa.
They had more than what we had here.
Yeah. So, but the video turned out great. The song is great. It's doing well. It's been out for a week now. Have you been pretty happy with the results so far?
Yeah. No doubt. I mean, I see different things. I mean, I'll follow, I'll look on YouTube and see how many, but other than that, I don't have any of that other stuff.
Right. But it sounds great. And I even turned, when you guys were doing the recording process of the video, I turned to Tess that day and I was like, this is really, really good. It reminded me of an old school Soundgarden kind of feel to it. Kenny's vocals and everything were really spot on.
I hear that a lot. I mean, from different people. I mean, I don't know. I don't think it's, I mean, you can hear like in his voice maybe, but I mean, I don't know if it's too much like Soundgarden. I mean, you can tell it was influenced by Soundgarden a little bit.
The voice aspect of it though. So
yeah. Kenny's got a badass voice.
Yeah. So Tess, tell me a little bit. You've done some music stuff. Well, what have you all done in the music aspect of this?
It's an all-female Southern punk metal band called Tri-County Terror since 2010. And we toured and played and released an album.
Stalked me.
And
She stalked me.
it was the other way around, just so that you know that.
She stalked
And
Did you guys meet on tour?
and well, he was touring. He actually stalked my Instagram page. And his opening line was, "Are you coming to the show?" And I was like, "What show?" And because
She came.
yeah, I did come to the show. I had heard of Crowbar, but they weren't like on my playlist.
She
or
thought we were like
whatever.
dad rock.
I thought they were like dad rock. I really didn't,
Right.
wasn't really the scene that I grew up in. And so, and it's funny too, because we have a lot of the same friends and we hung out at some of the same places back in the 90s. I'm a little bit younger than he is, but we kind of just missed each other. You know what I mean? Like, just yeah, because back then he was playing in Down and Crowbar, and they would come to Dallas a lot. They spent a lot of time in Dallas, and yeah, we just kind of missed each other. So, yeah. But yeah.
And during that time and Down and all that, is that when? So you guys met then at a Down show? Is that what,
No.
No. I met him. He was in Crowbar.
I was actually when
Okay.
I went back to Crowbar the second time,
Gotcha.
and I was on tour with Suicidal Tendencies.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and we would play where did we play? What was that place we played?
It's not even around
No,
anymore.
it's not. Monkey.
Gas Monkey Live,
Gas
the
Monkey.
big Gas Monkey Live,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
and because that was a while back. We've been
So
together. a while.
in all reality, though, that was kind of in the heydays, I should say, the crazy time of running around with Phil and all them guys, and with like Dime.
Yeah. That was on their
right?
way up. Matter of
Yeah.
fact, I got like a platinum, like a little record that he sent to everybody. She's like, "Why you got that?" I said, "Because we were on the road with them whenever they received the platinum. It's for I think Far Beyond Driven. Is that what it is, or is it? I don't even know. I'd have to look at it. It's in there with hanging on my wall in
Yeah.
my studio.
So was it crazy, like what you thought it was going to be then, Tess? Was it?
We actually. So when we first met, they had a couple of days off, and we were home. We weren't touring, and so he said, "Well, I'm going to be in town a few days before we play the show." So we actually met like 2 days before they even played, and like hung out at a bar, and he just kind of stayed with me. And because
I lived drunk and pushed me down.
I
the
lived
steps.
in downtown Dallas at the time. I lived really close to Deep Ellum, where everybody hung out. And so so he just kind of stayed with me, and I mean, he stayed with me the whole time, and we've been together ever since.
Yeah.
So I mean, touring, and he would leave and I would leave,
She'd
and
burn
we'd
my
be gone at the
shit.
same time. And
Run over my bases.
are you done? And so I mean, there were challenges, and I mean, we toured together, like the band I was in, we were on a tour package with them and went out with them, and that was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And
What year was that?
that was 2018.
Okay.
And so that was a lot of fun. And
Do you miss being out on the road?
He does. I do a little. I do, but I also don't. I'm really happy with where we live. I mean, you talk to me, so you know this,
Right?
Home is fun and nice, and it's a lot different than what I'm used to, because we're on this big ranch and we've got all these animals I never thought I would have in a million years.
Right.
And so, I miss it. I miss the girls, because we were all really, really good friends, and women touring is a little different than men, and not a lot different. But we always had a lot of fun, probably too much fun. And I think we kind of had a reputation for having a lot of fun on tour. And So I miss that, but I don't at the same time. I miss the girls a lot.
Yeah. So when you got when you were
Tell her
out
she
on
can go whenever she wants.
Yeah. Touring for us is a choice, whether we
Right.
want to play in a band and tour or not, So
Right.
it's nice to have that luxury.
But you see,
So-
you got to realize I was on a break and we got married. And 3 days later, I was on a bus. And don't worry, I ain't gonna say nothing. She grabbed my leg like she was getting ready to squeeze it, like she was waiting for me to say something negative. And anyway, I did that. And then she met me in New Orleans after that tour. And then I jumped on a plane and went to Europe for 6 weeks. So she's like, this ain't what I signed up for. I was like, all right. So that's when I left.
But in a way, though, of having that time, though, of because then is that when you pretty much quit touring and just to stay home and raise a family and all that, right?
Yeah.
Well, we also bought a place in the country, and neither one of us had lived in the country.
Yeah.
And so it was like a big ordeal, and buying animals and taking care, because it was an older home on acreage.
Sure.
And it was a lot, we had to buy a tractor and run fencing, and he built a barn. And I mean, we didn't know anything about cows, and we were like trying to learn, we bought these cows, and we're trying to learn about cows, and we didn't know anything about donkeys. And I mean, hell, now we have 9 donkeys. And so,
and they all live. So
yeah. And we there's no casualties.
It's kind of like the episode of what was that show back in the 60s or 70s, Green Acres?
Oh yeah.
Definitely.
Definitely. And the peacock comes in the house, and
do you ever have a buffalo out by the house? You have a buffalo, so
yes,
so people
we do
know.
have a buffalo. And when we got him, his mother had died, and the people who had him did not want a bottle baby. And I wanted a bottle baby, but I also wanted a bison. It was one of my crazy things. Oh, I want this. And so we rescued
tell him the
him.
truth. You wanted a rhinoceros or whatever the hell.
But he said no. He's like, there has to be a limit with something. So anyway, and at that time we were only living on like 15 acres. So we get this baby bison and we bring him home, and I had to bottle feed him every 3 hours for like the first 3 or 4 months. And so I kept him in the yard, and he would sleep on our back deck outside of our bedroom. And at night, because we had a glass door and he could see in, and we tried to let him in the house, but we had like hardwood floors and he couldn't get his bearing on the wood floors. He would slide and kicky legs. And so he couldn't come in the house, but he definitely wanted to. He still wants to. And he would sleep on the front porch during the day because I was working from home, and outside of my office so he could see me. And then he'd sleep on the back deck at night, and I was always out there with him, and I spent a lot of time with him. Todd spent a lot of time with him too. And so you can't, a bison, especially one that you're hand raising, it's like a big commitment.
Right.
I
suppose it would be if you have to bottle feed. I mean, how many times a day do you bottle feed something like that?
Well, when he was a baby, every 3 hours. Every 3 hours, I fed him bottles.
Not only that, I mean, their chances of living that first year without their mother is really drastic.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
You have to really watch him.
Yeah.
And I just loved him so much. And I mean, we had blankets for him, and Todd built him his own little special barn, and we would put hay in it, and he would sleep in his little hay. And I mean, I've just doted on him. So he's like this super neurotic bison that like acts like a dog.
2,000-pound puppy dog.
Yeah. Now he's almost 4. He'll be 4 in May.
Yeah.
And so he's big. He's not fully grown, but he'll be fully grown between 5 and 6 years old, but he's pretty big. So, and he still thinks he's baby.
Yeah, he gets excited for the bottles.
But we left the 15 acres and now we're on 75 acres because
So you
he
got more
really,
room
he needed his own pasture. And he literally here has his own pasture that's about 20 acres and it's
Nice.
right behind the house. It's like the backyard, the pool, and then his pasture.
Nice.
So, and he can see in the house at all times. Because our whole back wall of our living room is glass.
He'll sit out there and watch TV with me at night.
Really?
Yeah.
So, when we were down in New Orleans and that, and just music scene, I mean, that was on what night did we record that? It was on a Tuesday, right? If I remember right.
You got me.
But there's still live music going on downtown there in New Orleans, like a lot of blues and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And they even had like a street band and that playing there on that corner. But seeing that for the first time, because I've never been down in New Orleans like that, down in the French Quarters and that. And it was just cool to see some of that. But what was that scene like back in the 90s when you guys were coming up and with Crowbar and that? Was it a lot heavier? Has it changed much or?
I mean, I don't know what the scene's like. I mean, you got a few like bands and all that nowadays, but back then, I mean, we had a bunch of bands back then. I mean, you had Exhorter, you had I Hate God, you had Crowbar, you had Graveyard Rodeo, and I mean, we all played. They only had like it was like one of those places to where you never had like a ton of clubs. Like you'd have one club, and then it would close down, and another club would open, and then that one would close down, and all that. But I mean, you had all those bands back in the early '90s and all that stuff.
Yeah.
You know, the end of the '80s, beginning of the '90s.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, Crowbar actually got together. Of course, we were under a different name back in 1989. That's when when it was formed. And then, I mean, I think we released the first album in '91, which is more or less just a glorified demo that we did. You know. The Obedience Through Suffering. So, and then like down, the only thing I mean, it was a group of us that everybody was from New Orleans. Yeah. And whenever we were in there, we're like, hey, let's jam when we were in New Orleans. And then all of a sudden it turned into this, we did the demo for that thing and we were all like, damn, we might be on to something.
Right. What was your favorite song off of that at that time? That Down album, that first one.
The first one, I mean, I think the whole record's pretty much the test of time. I mean, it's definitely, withstood its own. Yeah. I don't know if I have exactly a favorite song off of it. I mean, they're all pretty good.
I mean, you stop and think you're in a pretty good. I shouldn't say pretty good, but pretty good influential stuff for today's music. You know what I mean? I mean, do you ever stop and think about what some of that stuff you've done and just like, holy shit, how much it's progressed? And
I consider myself very, very lucky for what I've done, what I've been part of. Even today, I mean, I was out of music and all that. And then Andrew called me with this thing to do this thing. And I was just like, I don't know, let me see. And then I run it by her and I was just like, yeah, Andrew called me, wanted me to do some band or whatever with the guys from Typo and Kirk and all that. She's like, well, I think it would do you good. I think you ought to do it. So I was like, all right. So I called Andrew and I was like, hey, does that offer still stand? He's like, yeah. I was like, all right, I'll do it.
Yeah.
So, but I've been very blessed. I mean, I played with some badass drummers as well. I mean, Jimmy, I mean, Tommy Buckley and now, Johnny. I mean, they're all badass drummers.
But and you stop and think too, like for like you said, of being out of it for so long. But you and Kurt always kept in touch.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, me and Kirk are like brothers. I mean, we go more than just music, I mean, I just even when I wasn't, I mean, out of the blue every now and then, I said, I had a nerd from Kirk. Let me give him a call, see how shit. Because I mean, he's so busy. You never know when the hell he's home or what he's doing. So. I mean, it's a miracle we even got this far with this project, considering how busy Johnny Kelly is and Kirk. I mean, me
Yeah.
and Kenny, we ready to go
It's
right now.
almost
The eggs are
it's
packed,
almost
ready to
like
go.
it's almost like what band Johnny isn't in.
Right. For sure. It's probably easier to name the one that he's not playing in than the ones he's playing.
Yeah. But you guys are people don't. I mean, it's been out there now. You guys are doing some festivals overseas coming up here this spring and summer, right?
Well, we were gonna do that, but I think we're not gonna do it now. I think our plan is now is June, we're getting back together and we're recording more songs and we're gonna put a full-length record out. I think that's the plans as of right now. I mean, that could change tomorrow. We did
Right.
have some pretty good offers to play in Europe, but then,
Yeah.
the more people we talked to and all of that, the more they were like, you really ought to try to put a full-length record out. I was just like, all right. And I mean, the thing is, I mean, we go over there and, I was asking Kenny, I said, well, we're gonna have to pick up some songs other than what we got to do
Right.
these, if we're gonna do shows on our own. He's like, I don't want to do them. I was like, all right. So, I mean, it's like, we really don't have enough material to go do our own damn shows at this point in time if we're not gonna do a couple of cover songs. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, the plan is June, we will all be in New Orleans in June recording either 3 or 4 more songs to do a full-length record.
Nice. Yeah. And are you gonna go down there with them, Tess, or are you staying back, or how do you manage some of that?
I we're very lucky that my son lives like 20 minutes away from us, and he's a college student at A&M in commerce. And so he'll come and take care of the house and dog sit and animal sit for us and everything. And so we do have that. We're very grateful that he does that for us. And so and I work from home, and so and the summertime is kind of my slow season. So I am able to to make it work,
Right.
and go. So.
Yeah, and again, thanks for your time today, because I know this is your busy time of the year. So
He'll tell you that.
Yeah, I like leave her alone. Even though she works in the house, I don't see her that much.
She pulls what little hair left you have.
She comes out and yells at me every now and then.
When we were down in New Orleans that first night we were there, and we went to I can't even think of the place, but we had them oysters, black, what are they called? Blackened oysters.
The charred grill.
Yeah, charred
Charbroil.
oysters, and never had them before. And you guys knew the food places down there like the back of your hand, just because you lived down there for so long. But for me, not even being able to experience that was just a thrill in itself, just because I've never had food like that. But
there's a bunch of places like that.
Yeah. And what I was gonna get to though is we were sitting there that night and we are talking about some of the different places to eat at and all that down there. But what is your guy? Because I know you guys go down there for the food a lot. You said this yourself, Tess. But what is your favorite place?
Well, you want to hear something funny? She wouldn't even eat seafood. She'd eat catfish, but she wouldn't eat seafood.
Because I'm from Texas. I'm from North Texas. We're inlanders. We're not
land
big,
dwellers.
Yeah, we're not big seafood people. Here it's steak and barbecue and everything else. So
and Mexican food.
And tons of Mexican food.
But where's your favorite place to go eat down there?
I like, that's a hard choice because there's so many good places. You
like that New Orleans Food and Spirit where
they have the voodoo rolls. What is that called?
New Orleans Food and Spirit.
New Orleans Food and Spirit.
You like Don's Seafood?
I like Don's Seafood.
You didn't go to Seethers with us.
I went to Seethers. So that was good.
Yeah.
And it was Don's the one that we went to that first night there?
No, we went to Acme Oyster House.
Oh, okay.
And that's okay. It's good.
Yeah.
What was that place you took me to that was in the house?
Oh, that ain't there no more.
Oh, it's
That-
not.
Yeah, that old woman passed away.
Oh, they've got some really unique places to
Yeah.
eat in the city
Like old houses
So-
that you wouldn't even think
that were a
like
restaurant or
Uh-huh.
a restaurant. You walk in and they just go on and on and on. And
Oh,
Old
really?
shotgun houses.
yeah.
Yeah. Gary and I still talk about that though, of how good the food was and all that. When we were down
Yeah,
in
it was good.
Arizona for the races, he's like, "Oh Jesus, you wouldn't believe these oysters down there." And he's telling everybody,
Yeah, they
No,
don't taste
but-
like an oyster now, do they?
"No, they don't. They really don't." But
I
it
tell
was
everybody
really
it tastes
good.
like steak fat almost.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, yeah. But with that test, you said you toured in that for quite a while. What's some of the favorite places you've played at?
The Viper Room in LA, that was a lot of fun, and we did get to headline on a Saturday night, which was awesome. And we had a good turnout for that. We really liked playing. It all kind of, you do it and then it kind of gets blurry a little bit.
Especially if you drink.
Yeah, especially back then I drank. I really liked, we played in Richmond, Virginia, and I can't remember the name of the venue, but it was a great turnout and we had a lot of fun playing there. Louisville, Kentucky stands out in my mind because it was like this little bitty like punk rock bar. And we were in a corner and there wasn't even a stage. It was just kind of like tile floor was their stage. And it was so packed with people and you couldn't move. When we moved, we were like in the crowd,
Yeah.
and it was so much fun. And it was a lot of young people and they were having a good time. Even though we were just like crammed in this little corner, we had a good
Sure.
time. It was super intense and we had a blast. So yeah,
That's usually the
What
best.
was the
show.
name of the band that you were in then?
Tri-County Terror.
Okay. And who were you on tour then with?
We did a lot of our own headlining tours, and we'd
Okay.
have bands that supported us, and we
Uh-huh.
toured with them. We toured with we toured with Anti-Scene, and we toured with a band out of Atlanta. What were their names? You're catching me at a
Should be prepared.
Threw you on
woman.
the
Yeah, I
spot.
know. I can't remember. I'm sorry. It's
No,
been
it's
a
all
while.
good.
So, I mean, we've toured with a few different bands and had a lot of fun. And a lot of times we'd go out on we had a really good
Uh-huh.
booking agent and
Sure.
we'd just go out on our own, and we were able to really play some great venues and pull some decent crowds. And, we always had, support bands that would go out with us and stuff. And so, yeah, it was cool. It was a lot of fun.
Todd, you've been out with some big headlining stuff and all that. And I wanted to ask you guys this when I was with you the last time, but obviously everyone has their Dime story and Pantera story and that, but the same deal with like Tess. What's one band that stands out that you just love to tour with? And and follow up with that though too is who's a band that you wish you would have toured with that you never have?
Well, as far as like touring with, I mean, Pantera was always fun. I mean, we toured with Sacred Reich. We toured with Napalm Death. In Europe, probably one of my most memorable tours was with Paradise Lost. That was like 8 weeks of all over Europe, and we were in like Slovenia and all that stuff.
Uh-huh.
Like just a few miles from where they were fighting at the time.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I can remember getting off the bus and going in the venue, and we was stepping over all these kids that they were refugees basically from the war.
Yeah.
And we stepping, they were drunk on homemade like whiskey or whatever they were drinking,
Oh,
and
no
they were
kidding.
just passed out all over. And to get to the venue, we were stepping over all these kids passed out to get there. I can remember that because
Really?
yeah. And then as far as like a big show, when we played Vakken, that was pretty killer. Played in a tent, but we paid to like 30,000 people in a tent,
Yeah.
and that was pretty amazing. Yeah, I mean, the Europe
Yeah.
stuff, it's awesome. I mean, you get treated so much better, or you were. I'm sure it is still today. I mean, as far as the bands go, you get treated so
Yeah.
much better. And but the crowds and all that in Europe, especially like some German shows and all that stuff. I mean, I can remember being where were Poland, maybe. I think we were in Poland. And I can remember being woken up in the morning by the whole bus rocking and people hollering for Crowbar.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Mm.
Then I can remember going through one of the borders, and the guy was like at the border. They were like, "Oh man, this is a hell of a border to try to get through." And we get to the border, everybody getting your bunks and all that. Play like you sleep, because this
Yeah.
is back before the wall came down, or it was
Yeah.
after the wall came down, but it was before they did the whole UN thing. So you had different countries you had to go through, and you had to
Right.
go through their checkpoint, their borders, and all that stuff. And yeah, we pulled up there, and the little guys, like the military guy, come on the bus, was checking all the passports and all that, and they're like, "Yeah, who do you have on the bus?" He said, "Crowbar." He said, "Crowbar." No way. And he come running on the bus and woke us all up to meet us and all that stuff, took pictures and all that. He takes his machine gun off and hands it to our tour manager so he could take a picture with us.
So who would be one of the bands then that you wish you would have got a tour with that you didn't?
Oh man, there's so many of them that I wish I could. I wish I could have did a tour with like Celtic Frost. I don't know. I mean, there's just so many, Led Zeppelin.
Yeah. Like, what are you listening to right now? What are you guys into right now?
Yacht rock. Yeah.
Have you seen the guy? There's a guy on TikTok that does
Bluegrass
like
Nation.
there's a
But,
guy that on TikTok that does like yacht rock remakes on different stuff. Have you seen this guy?
No.
Yeah, he does like yacht rock remakes of all this stuff. And I think he used to be a school teacher or something, but he's back east someplace. But yeah, he does he's always on
Probably
TikTok
makes more money
live.
now.
Yeah, probably just off of guys' remakes of yacht rock. But yeah. But who'd you say you're into right now? Like, who are you listening to?
I listen to a lot of old stuff, and the crazy thing with the digital thing and all of that, like I'll go back and I'll like the Crumb Suckers. I mean, growing up, I used to love their record, the Crumb Suckers, and old like Cro-Mags and all that stuff. And just recently, I downloaded some of that, so I've been listening to that. And I don't know, not really so much for inspiration, just to bring me back a few years
to that time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about you, Tess? What are you listening to?
I listen to a plethora of different types of music, but if I had to say like in like a heavier genre, it would be Shelter, Youth of Today, more hardcore, Judge, Earth Crisis.
Okay.
So I tend to stay like a little bit more on the hardcore side. So
yeah, it's funny how that is, of how you'll bring in albums from the past to listen to again, and you forget songs off of them. Like,
oh yeah, it's like discovering them all over again.
Yeah, exactly. Like I put in the old Corrosion of Conformity Blind album, which is a phenomenal album. I love that that record. But you just remember some of them songs off of it, and you're like, holy shit, this is good. Another one
I forgot this song was on that record.
Yeah, exactly. Another band that I was just going through some of the CDs and that Life, Sex, and Death, LSD. Do you ever a lot of people don't know about them, but
Stanley
lead singer. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But I thought it's phenomenal. I thought it was a great record though.
Man, the crazy thing is, I wonder what he's doing, because I mean, that was like he lived that, but he really wasn't. From what I understood, he was like there was like a persona that he put, but he always stayed in character.
Yep.
You know.
Yeah, and Jason Green, who's the tour manager or the manager of Stephen Piercy's Rat, had him on one of his podcasts.
Uh-huh.
I think just recently. I haven't watched it
Really?
yet, but my buddy was talking about it the other day that it finally dropped, and I wanted to check it out. But he ran into him. I want to say he's in Vegas or something. And like you said, I think the whole thing was just is just this whole character type thing. But what
Right.
was funny is I was actually supposed to see back in mid '90s. They were on tour with Poison. It was Poison and Damn Yankees, and that's the whole reason why we went to this show was to see Life, Sex, and Death. And
Okay.
then to come to find out, they kicked them off that tour the day before. And that was before, that was before the internet and all that. So you had no idea that they weren't going to be there till you actually got there. You know what I mean? And
Yeah. Good thing you didn't spend
uh,
$100 on that ticket, huh?
well, yeah, and tickets at that time, what, maybe 10, $15, it wasn't like what it
Yeah.
is today.
I can remember the first
So
concert I went to was Queen on Halloween night, 1978, and paid $7.50 for that ticket.
really,
Yep.
you still got the stub for it?
Yep. Somewhere around
Yeah,
here.
nice, nice. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, guys, I know you're busy testing that. I want to appreciate your time and everything, and good seeing you guys again. I'm glad the single's doing good for you. The song sounds great. For those that haven't listened to it yet, it's the Sun Don't Shine and then the Promise song. It's up on YouTube, all of your streaming platforms and everything. Go check it out because it's a great song. And it's pretty much nothing like you'd expect either. I mean, it's nothing like you think a Crowbar or you think a Typo Negative, a Down. I mean, it doesn't have that sound whatsoever, I don't think. And maybe I'm wrong, but I just
No,
don't.
you're not.
Speaking of this, do you think the album's going to strive towards that, or are you guys going to have some heavier stuff on there? How do you think that's going to play out?
I don't know. I mean, we told ourselves that we weren't going to limit ourselves to any one specific
Sounds.
sound, or
Uh-huh.
we weren't going to limit it ourselves to doing it. If we do something and we all like it, then we'd record it, So.
Right. Yeah. It's almost kind of fun that way though, too. You know what I
Oh yeah,
mean?
yeah.
'Cause then,
Well, I mean, a lot of our stuff's been written spontaneously too. So, I mean, we'll write like the main thing, get the drums down, and then, like, Kenny will go home and work on stuff and bring it back. Then Kirk will work on stuff, and then I'll go to New Orleans and I'll do my stuff.
uh-huh.
But I mean, basically, the drums are all recorded when we all leave.
Yeah.
So,
Well, again, best of luck with the single going forward, and hope to see you
thank
guys in
you.
person soon. And
Good.
good seeing your guys' face again. And
I'm gonna try to come down in June.
yeah, Gary and we were talking when we were down in Arizona for I turned 50 in March,
Oh,
and
poor baby.
yeah, and but we were saying that Down's going to be playing there in on my birthday that Friday the 21st and opening up for Danzig.
Yeah, yeah.
And so we were all saying that Spalding and all of us should meet out there for that. And that's the last I've heard of it. I don't know if it's going to come to a fruition or not, but yeah,
There you go.
it'd be cool. It'd be
Yep.
cool to do, but yeah, for sure. I'd love to see you guys again. And
Wait, some good food.
well, Tess brought them beignets that one day.
Oh, the glazed beignets.
Yeah. God, they
Yeah,
were good. I bought a box
you can
of
really
that.
mess your waistline up in a hurry in New Orleans.
Well, I brought a box of that home for my daughter and that because she's a big Princess and the Frog from Disney fan and that. So I sent it out to her. She lives out in Idaho. I sent those to her, but then I bought a box of those beignets to take home. And a day later, they're just not the same as what they're right out of
No.
the oven. You know what I mean? And
Yep.
but no, it was a good time, and I had a ball. And thanks for everything down there. And you guys were
No
great.
problem.
And I actually talked to Charles Dye the other day. We're going to be doing a podcast, I think, here pretty soon, just kind of talking about
Good
his
deal.
photography stuff, what he's done with bands and that.
Cool.
And it was just cool meeting everybody in person. You guys were awesome and made me feel like as part of the group and that. So with that, I can't thank enough of for the hospitality.
Most
And
welcome.
that. So
Hey, that's what we known for.
but, yeah. Well, I appreciate you guys both. Appreciate your guys' time and best of luck. Like I said, with the single going forward, and Tess, best of luck with tax season coming up here. So
Thank you.
He's in the middle of it now.
yeah. So with that, check us out on TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, whatever you want on streaming services. And I appreciate everybody's time and following me on everything. And thanks, Gary and Tom's Fishing and Guiding Service. And until next time, toodaloo, buckaroo.
Get ready to crank up the volume because you're about to enter the realm of rebels and rock stars. Unleashing the thunder from down under the stage. We're diving deep with a deviance of melody, rhythm, and chaos. Now push up your sleeves and get ready to dive into the pit. It's time for Sitting with the Slimy Bastards, Music Edition.